Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, Real Estate ROI with Anna Marie. I wanted to talk today a little bit about my entrepreneurial journey that I hold so dear to my heart. It has been a roller coaster, as I'm sure it is for many other entrepreneurs. And this is not my first time attempting to be a full-time entrepreneur. It is my second, and it might be a third. I don't know. All I can do is learn from my past and continue to move forward. So I do own a real estate brokerage, and I started doing real estate about 9 years ago when I was, an agent and a property manager. I always had entrepreneurial blood. My dad was an entrepreneur, and I can only imagine how he felt. He had 3 babies, a wife, and was trying to create this construction company and get bids and pay for things. I can't imagine how he would feel, because I'm just nervous just having my own business and being by myself. So it's something that I think is impressive for everybody out there that's attempting to live their dream and go on this journey. So just to, bring it back to when I was in college, just to kind of go through the trajectory of kind of what I went through to how I got to where I am now, which isn't, I'm not doing anything spectacular, but I think that people that have come to me and saying like, how did you start? No one knows what they're doing. We have an idea or a goal set in mind, but you're really just winging it. You're just trying to see what works and what doesn't, and hopefully you have a good support system. I had additional income, which was my support system. Of course, you have family and friends that are great. Of course, the income is the main thing. If you run out of money, you got to shut it down, or get a loan or something of that nature. So I think it's important to have a plan in mind, of course, and to stay consistent. And I'll talk about consistency a little bit later, but I wanted to talk about kind of how I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, which was back when I was a sophomore at Howard University. I was interning in Vegas at a large hospitality firm, and I was in the corporate office interning in diversity and inclusion. The atmosphere of that office, the other intern I worked with was great, but it was actually the people that are above me. It was a little vicious. And I was like, this can't be life. Like, this is not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to sit here and just be nervous every time I come and talk to this person, or what if they're going to say some passive aggressive thing to me. No, this is not what I want to do. So from then on, I knew that I needed to come up with a plan in order to get out of corporate America. And going to the School of Business at Howard University, that's a lot of what they push towards most of the students, which is corporate America. We have corporate sponsors we deal with since freshman year, and then hopefully you can intern with them, either summer internship or the next year or so, and then get a job. I didn't want it, so when I left Howard, a previous Howard alum who I received a scholarship from hired me, and I remember my essay was that I wanted to be a CEO. And we look back at it a couple years later, and we're laughing because I'm still working for them at this point. But here I am. Like, we thought it was funny, but it's actually possible. It can be done. Now, I was planning this. I had a business plan that I set up to have a full service real estate brokerage my senior year, because it was one of our projects for a class I had. So it is something that I knew I planned prior to. So it was not something that was done overnight. Now, I needed skill sets, I needed income, I needed more experience before jumping out to create this business that I wanted. And of course, there are rules in DC when you're in real estate. You have to practice a certain amount of years before you open up your own brokerage. So I worked for that developer / real estate mogul. He was a millionaire by 30, mind you. So I was like, tell me your secrets. Tell me how you did this. Like, I want to do what you did. Now, of course, he's 10 years older than me, so he had a different experience in the real estate market. But it's still going strong. So it ended up working out. But he pushed me towards buying a multi-unit. So I had a 4-unit building, 2 bedrooms each. And that, he told me, is going to change my life, and it has in many ways, which was, of course, additional income, which had allowed me to focus on the company that I wanted to build. It allowed me to be able to travel more often. It allowed me for a little bit more freedom and flexibility. So I appreciate that advice, and I'm glad I listened, because, you know, a certain age, you always think you know everything, but I already knew I didn't know anything. So I was like, tell me what I need to do. So I worked for his company for about 3 or 4 years. I left the company to pursue real estate full time. So I did that for about a year and a half before I failed. So I did it for a year and a half. I was able to pay my bills only. And for me, I'm pretty frugal with money, and I know how to save, and I know the importance of saving a dollar. But I wasn't able to save. And in my mind, I had a 4-unit building. I had almost 8 tenants relying on me. And if something happened to that building, did I have enough cushion to be able to take care of it, or to even maintain it in the regular sense? Could I manage it? And I didn't feel comfortable. So I did end up working for a property management company. And before I even started working for that property management company, I already had in mind that I wanted to start my own property management company. So I worked for one of the best ones, and I didn't want to recreate the wheel. They had a successful model. So I, took some of their best practices and instilled them into my company. And I continued to work full time, still sell real estate, and then build a property management company kind of at the same time. It all kind of stayed kind of full circle in the real estate realm. So it wasn't, anything too offbeat. But I worked for them for about, 3 years. I wanted to be there. 2 years was my max. I was like, I'm going to have to readjust my business model for my real estate sales, because sales, sometimes you have a client and you might not close. Like a tenant might end up wanting to purchase the property, or they just might end up wanting to make it a difficult situation for the seller, or the buyer now doesn't want to sell or buy anymore. So you could end up working for free for months and you never get paid. So I was like, I love this industry. Let me figure out another way to do this that makes more sense for me. So I did find a loophole. While I was working still full time with the property management company, after practicing real estate in DC for 2 years, you can start your own brokerage. So I found the loophole with DC, right? DC kind of rules and regulations for real estate brokerage. You have to have a certificate of occupancy in order to operate a real estate brokerage. So with all the kind of like WeWorks and, community office spaces, they do offer a C of O for a certain level of office. So I was able to utilize WeWork and pay a fairly low amount in order to just start it, just to launch it and just go on my own. And it's just a long process, just the get the legal documents put together, take all your exams, pay all your fees. It took me about a year from start to finish. The good thing was that I was able to still practice. I was still able to work my full-time job until I got it off the ground. And it was a little difficult, but anything worth having is worth the work. So and I would do it 10 times over. So after starting the brokerage, I told my old broker who I started with, and they had their own business. So seeing from their perspective how they started their brokerage, they didn't franchise from a larger, bigger known name brand. They started their own, created their own brand, and I kind of watched and saw like what they spent their money on. I didn't see their books, but I could see where they put the value, where they spent their money. Like, was it marketing? Was it, getting agents? And they were super nice. They wanted to actually meet with me. They took me to lunch once I told them I was leaving, to give me some advice and kind of like, what was the hardest thing that you had to deal with when you started the brokerage? And mainly it's getting agents, because you have to tell them, like, I'm going to help you grow. You should join my brokerage because I'm going to make you successful, or I'm going to help you get to that successful space. And that was great advice. I haven't gone down that path yet of trying to get agents under me. I'm still trying to figure my own path out. So they were super helpful for just giving me that information anyway. But after leaving their brokerage, I started mine. I kept my job because I wanted to buy another property. So the house that I'm in now. So I bought this house while I was still working for the property management company, because I knew from my tax advisor that it's harder to prove income when you have only 1099 income. So real estate sales is only commission. You pay your taxes quarterly or at the end of the year, pay a big check. Or and also my money that I was getting from my tenants were from the DC government. That's also 1099. So you're independent contractor in both those cases. So I needed a W-2 to make it easier for me to qualify for another loan to buy this house. And once I bought this house, I knew I wanted it to be an income producing property. But I wanted to be in here. I wanted to be in my space, in my element of peace, because I do work from home often. I just rented out the basement. So and when I bought the house, I demoed the basement, ripped it out, put a bathroom down there, put a closet space, a little kind of kitchenette area. So I rented out the basement so I could have additional income. At this point, I have an Excel sheet of all my expenses, all of my income that I was making, and where that money was going to go. So I utilized Velocity Banking before I quit my job to pay off my student loans, to pay off my car note, because those were two big chunks of money. And then I was down to the dollar. I knew now I had that savings, but I knew that savings was going to go to something else, which was insurance, because I had to pay for my own insurance. I had to get disability, liability, and life insurance. So that savings of paying off those things went to something else. So it wasn't like it was going back into my pocket. So once you're an entrepreneur, everything is on you, and you want to protect yourself in case, God forbid, you break a leg, you can't make income, or you die, or you have a health insurance, so you can help keep yourself healthy throughout the year. Those things are on you. There's no more benefits. So that was realized, and I took into action to make sure I had all those things set up. So that's another thing. Make sure you have a good team of industry professionals. You shouldn't know all these things. That's probably not your background or what you focus on a daily basis. So I have a great accountant. I have a great financial advisor. Those are the two main people that I consult with before I make a move, and kind of tell them what my plan is, and they'll tell me, estimated what I need to make per year in order to, stay afloat, or, how else you're going to make more money while, selling properties or doing property management. So it's nice to have someone to bounce ideas off of that know exactly what they're talking about. I don't know anything about taxes. I don't know much about, financial advisement, but I do know I trust them, and they're good people to work with. So once I, rented out my basement unit here, I was able to quit my job. So I actually planned on it. I was just renovating the house. I bought a fixer-upper, and I was putting the income that I was making from my full-time job at the time into the house. So I wanted to pay off my line of credit that I used in order to renovate the house, but it got to a point where I got an email, and I was like, I'm quitting today. And I sent the email. I said, I typed it up, and I said, if I hit enter, there's no backing out, because it's pretty much me asking my manager to have a conversation. Like, we need to talk. So I was like, if I send this, I can't just make up just anything and make it make sense. So I was quitting that day. So I gave her, it was a 2-week notice actually. So I gave her a 2-week notice, and I was done by June 1st. I was on my own, and my mom called me a lady of leisure, not knowing that I was working much harder than I was when I had a full-time job, because you create the opportunity. You have to create your marketing. You have to create you have to make sure people are looking at you and looking at your brand. So I'm still learning a lot about that in regards to marketing and creating a brand, and finding out what is a successful kind of path to go down. But, we see a lot of it on social media and everybody else's pages, kind of how they're successful. So you can kind of use and take from other people's successes and kind of make it your own. So now I am here, still selling property, and now I'm looking into developing property. So, saving up whatever income I make from my sales. I pretty much can live off of the income from my multi-unit and then my basement unit. So anything else that I make in sales, I can save. So now I want to start flipping properties, DC, Maryland, Virginia, just trying to figure out how to find those best deals, which a lot of the work is in finding it at a cheap rate up front. You make your money up front. So you have to get it below market value, and that means you have to find the deal before anybody else does. So that's where a lot of the work is going into. So I'm partnering with a developer, a longtime developer, to kind of get some more deals under the belt. So that will be a new experience that I will take for you guys. Creating it from the ground up, I think it's exciting. I'm excited. So if you have any questions about my process, or if you have any golden nuggets, I'm sure we would all love to have them. Please feel free to put them in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe. So otherwise, I'll see you later. I never knew you were the someone waiting for me.